Okay. Cam Newton sat down with Shannon and shared some advice for the reigning MVP. One thing that Lamar and the Ravens organization have to figure out is how to win the ugly games. Stop thinking. As a chef, you can prepare this meal in so many different ways, but everyone knows your signature. You've got to find a way to win the ugly games. Now we're trying to interpret that, what the ugly games are. Here's where the Ravens rank this year. Overall, pretty strong. They got to the playoffs and didn't run the ball enough. But Coach, what's your take on the ugly games aspect and Cam's advice?
Well, I'm going to say something that I don't think I've said very often, as I totally agree with Cam Newton.
Wow.
I absolutely agree with what he's saying, and I think Cam brings really unique insight for Lamar, because there are similarities between the way the two players played. And what he's saying is, and I find this a lot from Baltimore, they make the move at offensive coordinator. They didn't want Greg Roman, and his offense tended to be a run first, build play action off of that. So now they're going to go make a change, and now we're going to focus on how well of a passer Lamar is. And Lamar has done some good things throwing the ball, but that's not necessarily his greatest strength. And he can continue to improve that, but he has a very unique way of playing that's hard to deal with, that very few other quarterbacks can ever present those challenges. But it seems like this need from either Baltimore's perspective or from Lamar's perspective to change the narrative and to say that he can be this, or he is this elite pocket passer. And I don't think that's what you should focus on. Just figure out whatever you have to do to win that game. And if it means you run the ball 40 times, and if it means that he's running quarterback-driven runs to get over the hump, then do that. It just, there's been so many times where it feels like they're trying to prove a point instead of trying to do what really is what they do best.
Well, I think that certainly was a problem against Kansas City. I mean, we may be having a whole different conversation if they just run the ball. What I disagree, look, I think Baltimore's culture is about winning ugly. Like, they're always good defensively. They've generally been a run team. Mm-hmm. They won their Super Bowls with Joe Flacco. I know he was hot that postseason. Trent Dilfer, the other Super Bowl. Like, to me, they win ugly. Like, Lamar this year was 6-0. He was 6-0 when he didn't throw for 200 yards. And in none of those games did he even run for 100. So,
But do you ever hear him talking and embracing that? Do you ever hear him saying, like, hey, this is what we do. This is our brand. We're going to own it. We're going to embrace. No, it's, hey, we got to move on from Greg Roman because
he definitely
it's too much
wanted
of
to
this.
go in a different direction this year.
Yeah, we got to throw the ball more. We got to get better receivers in. We've got to build up the pass. It's always about proving people wrong in terms of the narrative related to Lamar. And Lamar is great at what he does, and he's getting better in a lot of areas. But just embrace the things that you do really well and give opponents a lot of it, because they can't handle it.
I would think this year they're going to, they had to learn, Coach, from that AFC title game. Because it was just blatantly obvious to everybody that they went away from the run too much. And I think they got to find that sweet spot. Because I like Lamar, throwing it the way he did this year. But when he needs to run, he's got to lean into that.
But how sick are you that you had to learn that lesson in that scenario? And you can hope that you're going to get back to that game, but there's no guarantee. And remember, Lamar's come off a couple of seasons where he finished the season injured. So this is a season where he's healthy. They have that opportunity, and now we're going to prove a point, and all it did is end up sending you home.
Brew, speaking of the playoff game, do you think Lamar needs to reach the Super Bowl to silence all doubters?
He needs to win it, not just reach it. Win it. Okay. He's won 2 MVPs. There's 10 other guys that have won MVPs, all quarterbacks except for Jim Brown. But every one of those 10 guys has won at least one Super Bowl. So that's the class you put yourself in. And so he has to not just reach a Super Bowl, win it. Like, if he doesn't win a Super Bowl, he's going to finish his career. Yeah, he'll be a Hall of Famer because of the MVPs and the winning. But we will look at it with disappointment. But he never got that one ring. That'll help define his career, just like it does kind of Dan Marino's. Now, in fairness, even if he didn't have 2 MVPs, Coach, I think he'd still be you got to win the Super Bowl because he's that good. And Wilds, you know, I made the S-Bob famous.
Of course.
For teams, for franchises. Here's the S-Bob quarterbacks, Coach. All right, look, there's two different categories. S-Bob quarterback, Super Bowl or bust because of their individual greatness.
This is just this year.
Well, this is going forward.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess this year. Mahomes, you know, obviously he's about winning Super Bowls. Lamar's got to win one. Allen's got to win one. Burrow's got to win one. The bottom next under that, these guys are approaching that. If they have the seasons this year that they had last year, or Herbert typically has, then they will become S-Bob quarterbacks. Where it's like, okay, Jordan Love's so good now, he's got to win the Super Bowl. That's what we're going to judge him by, and the same for Stroud and Herbert. The other three on the bottom are because of their team's greatness. Not that they're not very good. Purdy, obviously, I like, but he's in an S-Bob situation. Yep. Like, no, they've been to the Super Bowl even with Jimmy Garoppolo. So Purdy's got to win the Super Bowl. Dak, because he's with America's team, has to win the Super Bowl. And Hurts is kind of floating in between because maybe he is that great. Maybe Purdy too. But Hurts has to win one because that team is built to win now. They got a lot of pieces.
You know, I always love your stuff. I don't know if I love
You don't love this?
He's not an S-Bob guy.
Putting C.J. Stroud there after 1 year.
They're question marks. There's question marks.
Putting Jordan Love there after 1 year. I struggle with that. And then your boy Brock Purdy.
But he's not in a Super Bowl or bust situation.
No, I agree, but all the stats that you quote over and over again, he doesn't even make the second row.
Well, no, the second
Nick would be so happy with this graphic and this chart right now. I can't believe Purdy's there and Stroud and Love are up on that one.
It's more strength of the team.
Okay.
And again, the question marks are.
Do I want?
Don't ignore the question marks, Coach.
If Goff is not is not S-Bob, is that good for him or is it problematic for him?
Is he S-Bob? Is he S-Bob?
I would think if we were going to talk about the greatness of a team, Detroit's got a pretty talented team right now.
Yeah,
maybe. And Goff is really.
I think you want to be S-Bob.
You definitely want to be S-Bob.
Kirk Cousins S-Bob?
I think we need to workshop this a little bit and come back.
S-Bob just keeps growing.
Y'all didn't get it. Y'all look, let it marinate. Yeah. Next week, you guys will be like, Eureka!
The style of that, when we put up that style of graphic with some amorphous pyramid shape.
And there are a lot of aspects.
Nick did it. You're going to end up redoing it on Monday.
It like Nick's last graphic.
It was the same template.
That is an off-season graphic right there.
Is Burrow eyeing another invite to the Arrowhead Invitational? That's next.
I should have called him Force
on FS1.
I would have loved it. I would have been all in.